That's the tight end, Zach Davidson.
After that shocking altercation, the NFL dropped the hammer. Shilo Sanders is officially banned for life. This wasn't just some random fight on the field. It was the final straw in a long history of bad decisions. And the craziest part? What Shilo did right after hearing about the ban left everyone speechless. The 2025 preseason was supposed to be his comeback story, the moment he finally redeemed himself. At 25 years old, son of Hall of Famer Deion "Primetime" Sanders, Shilo was fighting to prove he belonged in the same league that made his father a legend. He went undrafted despite the famous last name and college hype, but the Tampa Bay Buccaneers still threw him a lifeline, a 3-year, $2.5 million contract deal with nearly $800,000 guaranteed in cash for 2025. This was his shot to silence the doubters, to show he could stand on his own 2 feet. But on August 23, 2025, inside Raymond James Stadium, all of that crumbled in one explosive moment. A routine preseason finale against the Buffalo Bills turned into the nightmare that ended everything. Second quarter, Bucs trailing, and then chaos. Bills tight end, Zach Davidson, a towering 6 feet 7 inches, 251-pound giant, locked horns with a much smaller 6-foot Sanders. What should have been normal post-play blocking turned into an all-out bullying session. Davidson kept driving him back, step after step, nearly 15 yards toward the goal line, even after the whistle blew. Cameras caught every second, and within hours the footage was everywhere online. You can clearly see Davidson lunging, grabbing at Shilo's head near the face mask, and wildly swinging his arm past his helmet while Sanders crouched down trying to fight it off.
Last name can be a blessing and a curse. It's not normal that free agents have breaking news that they're being released. He's an undrafted free agent, and because his name is Sanders, the blessing and the curse, people say, well, Shannon, he only got an opportunity because his...
Witnesses later said Davidson hit him with one final shove, and that's when Shilo snapped. Instead of walking away, Shilo stood up and delivered the move that destroyed his career. He swung at Davidson, either a straight closed fist punch or an open hand slap. Reports differ, but it landed flush against the side of Davidson's helmet. One swing sealed his fate, and in seconds, his NFL dream went up in flames. The punch landed right in front of not one, but 2 referees, and they wasted no time throwing the flag. Unnecessary roughness. The crowd gasped, the refs pointed, and just like that, Shilo Sanders was tossed out of the game, ejected on the spot. But the drama didn't stop there. As chaos broke out, Buccaneers linebacker John Bullock rushed over, grabbing Shilo, trying desperately to drag him away before things got even uglier. It didn't matter, though. The damage was already done. Not just to Shilo's reputation, but to his team's momentum and his own future in the NFL. And here's the part that sent fans into a frenzy. Zach Davidson, the Bills' tight end who started the mess by digging his fingers into Shilo's face mask, didn't even get flagged. The refs let him walk scot-free. To make it worse, Davidson actually mocked Sanders right after, throwing a too small gesture at him like he was clowning a rookie on the playground. That little stunt went viral just as fast as the punch itself. The penalty handed the Bills prime field position, 1st and 10 at Tampa Bay's 11-yard line. And on the very next snap, Tyrell Shavers pulled off a jaw-dropping one-handed touchdown catch. One bad decision from Shilo had flipped the game, embarrassed his team, and tanked his chances of sticking around. Head coach Todd Bowles was furious, and trust me, this man does not bite his tongue. A defensive guru known for being strict and straight up, Bowles told reporters the ejection was inexcusable. His voice was ice-cold, his frustration clear. Shilo wasn't just fighting for a roster spot. He was fighting for the final safety slot behind Antoine Winfield Jr. and other established starters. After that meltdown, the writing was on the wall. And sure enough, less than 24 hours later, August 24, 2025, the Buccaneers cut Sanders loose. Officially, they called it part of routine roster cuts, but everybody knew what time it was. That punch wasn't just a mistake. It was the nail in the coffin of his NFL dream. The news of Shilo's release didn't come from the team. It blasted out through his superstar agents, Drew Rosenhaus and Robert Bailey of Rosenhaus Sports. And these weren't just any agents. Rosenhaus is a shark, the guy with the next question catchphrase, a legend at squeezing millions out of NFL teams. If even he couldn't save Shiloh's spot, you already know how bad the situation really was. Rosenhaus and Bailey went into full crisis mode, firing off what insiders called an urgent plea to NFL front offices. They begged teams to scoop Shilo off waivers or at least stash him on a practice squad. They hyped him up as a versatile safety, top pedigree, raw athleticism, untapped upside. Anything to spin the narrative and keep his career alive. But the fact they had to beg publicly showed just how desperate things had gotten. And when the football world chimed in, it wasn't pretty. Analysts and ex-players shredded Shiloh's resume, pointing out he logged just 4 solo tackles and 1 quarterback hit in 3 preseason games. Critics said the release wasn't only about the punch. The numbers proved he wasn't NFL ready in the first place. Some even said his athleticism and football IQ didn't measure up, and the fight was just an easy excuse to push him out the door. But the conversation went way deeper than stats. The punch reignited long-running whispers about the Sanders family, the way they raise their kids, the privilege, the fame, the lack of accountability. Detractors called it a pattern of bad behavior being brushed off because of the family name. Meanwhile, Shiloh's defenders flipped the script, saying he was being unfairly targeted precisely because of who his father is. And then came the most damning revelation. This wasn't even Shiloh's first violent outburst on a football field. Old stories started bubbling back up, painting a picture of a troubled athlete who'd been carrying these same issues since his teenage years. That punch in August 2025 wasn't just a mistake. It was another chapter in a long, messy book of violence, privilege, and dysfunction tied to the Sanders name. To understand how a young man born with every advantage could wreck his NFL dreams so spectacularly, you've got to rewind and look at the chaos that shaped him. The truth is, Shilo Sanders had been carrying heavy baggage since his teenage years. And the most shocking incident went down back in 2015, when he was just 15 years old. The scene? Focus Academies in Dallas, also known as AAA Academy, the private school where his father, Deion Sanders, was CEO and head football coach. What started as a simple school rule enforcement spiraled into an act of violence that would follow Shilo forever. That day, Shilo was serving in-school suspension for being disruptive in class. Even though the school had a strict no-phone policy, he was on his phone trying to reach his mom, Pilar Sanders, right in the middle of his parents' bitter divorce and custody battle. A security guard on duty, John Darren, a 48-year-old former minor league baseball player, was sent to confiscate the phone at Deion's own request. But when Darren approached, everything exploded. According to court filings and investigations, Shilo suddenly rammed his elbow into Darren's chest, then kept hitting him as the man collapsed. Witnesses described it as a violent, out-of-control attack. The aftermath was devastating. Darren had to be rushed to the hospital, where doctors discovered he'd suffered a broken neck, severe cervical spine damage, permanent neurological injuries, and even irreversible incontinence. The medical trail told the whole story. Darren underwent a massive 5-level spinal fusion surgery, leaving him disabled and reliant on ongoing treatment just to get by. He now receives $1,400 a month in disability payments. His life permanently changed because of that one violent encounter. And the most twisted part? This wasn't some random clash with a stranger. Darren was only doing his job, enforcing school policy at the direct request of Shiloh's own father. A father who wanted discipline, but ended up watching his son unleash an attack that left another man's life shattered forever. What makes this whole saga even more disturbing is the ugly pattern it exposed. Multiple investigations into the 2015 assault found Shilo at fault in 4 out of 5 cases, and in 2022, a Texas court didn't mince words. The ruling flat out declared, on September 17, 2015, Shilo Sanders did in fact cause physical harm and injuries to John Darren by assaulting him. The court even said those injuries were the foreseeable consequence of Shiloh's violent actions. That's how damning the evidence was. But instead of taking accountability, Shilo and his family dragged the case through the legal system for years, pulling every trick in the book to dodge responsibility. When the trial finally rolled around in March 2022, Shilo didn't even show up. He claimed he never got notice because of an old address and said he couldn't afford a lawyer, despite living under a family name worth millions. The no-show backfired big time, leading to a default judgment of $11.89 million against him. An eye-popping number meant to reflect just how devastating Darren's injuries were and how little respect Shilo showed for the law. And then came the move that shocked everyone. In October 2023, Shilo filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy in Colorado, trying to wipe the debt clean. This enraged critics, because not only does his family have wealth, but his NIL, name, image, likeness, deals were valued at over $1.1 million. The filing laid bare his assets, at first $400,000, later amended to $320,000, including a $75,000 Mercedes and $75,000 in jewelry. Meanwhile, rumors swirled that he was hiding even more money through LLCs and downplaying his NIL income. Darren's attorney fought back hard, arguing the judgment couldn't just disappear because it came from willful and malicious injury, which bankruptcy law doesn't forgive. And while Shilo cried broke in court, reports surfaced of him still living large, spending lavishly while claiming hardship. The hypocrisy infuriated the public and painted him as someone willing to do anything to escape the consequences of his own actions. And remember, this wasn't the only black mark on his record. Shilo's college years at Colorado were filled with controversy too. He became known for late hits and dirty play, gaining a reputation that had opposing fans and players furious. One of the lowest points came on October 12, 2024, in his return from a broken forearm injury against Kansas State. His performance was so bad that even his own father, head coach Deion Sanders, called it horrible and admitted Shilo looked rusty. But it wasn't just the missed tackles or sloppy angles that had people heated. It was something far worse. That Kansas State game became infamous for more than just bad defense. It was the night Shilo showed the same reckless streak that had haunted him for years. Fans accused him of taking cheap shots, and critics said he was more focused on sending a message than playing real football. Instead of silencing the doubters, he proved them right, and even Deion's harsh words couldn't save him from the growing reputation that stuck like glue. From the 2015 school assault to the $11.89 million judgment, the bankruptcy scandal, and now the NFL punch that sealed his fate, Shilo Sanders' story is a tragic fall from privilege to permanent exile. He had the name, the spotlight, and the second chances most players could only dream of. But he blew it all in spectacular fashion. And now, with the NFL slamming the door shut for good, the Sanders legacy carries a new chapter, one filled with chaos, controversy, and a reminder that talent and opportunity mean nothing without discipline. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you in the next one.